Then we go on to the save time, increase productivity, and this is probably where it's strongest and where it's going to improve a lot of businesses, and a reason hopefully that they'll decide to adopt this. Biggest one I feel is the coverage across the UK. So a majority of us, I'm sure, live in the UK. We know that the data networks are pretty shocking as soon as you go outside of any major cities or towns. The fact that you can now receive business phone calls from your standard DDI through the phone system, in places where you haven't got Wi-Fi or the data coverage is just not good enough to support that true VoIP call in your mobile app. Probably the most people that complain about mobile apps are the fact that it's just when you're away from the Wi-Fi, the data coverage isn't good enough to hold a conversation, which means you don't trust it. So then you end up using your mobile phone for making those phone calls. This enables you to use your mobile phone for making those phone calls, but obviously you're now routing those calls through the phone system. So you get the best of both worlds. It means that you are saving that time of making the call on WebEx, for example, realizing the data's just not there to make that call, having that issues of getting cut off or having a terrible quality call. You just go straight to use your mobile, anywhere mobile SIM, make that call and hopefully have a nice conversation without any of that, those sort of issues. You can also, it obviously uses the native dialer of the mobile phone. So there's no need for the end user to open an application like WebEx or Teams, for example. They can just make a phone call as they would usually through their mobile phone. So that in itself will save time to the end user, because they haven't got to think about opening an app. They haven't got to go looking in their phone for where's the app that I'm going to make this phone call from. They'll just open their phone dialer, make that call, and it will route out via our platform. And as I mentioned, if you've set your various contacts with whichever SIM it uses, you don't even need to select that SIM to say, oh, this is a work call or a personal call, should you have multiple SIMs on your device. Another nice byproduct of this is that when you do make that call, because it's routing out over your user on the phone system, they're going to be presenting their work number. So it's one phone number that you're presenting out to your customers. Then when they call back, they're not calling back to a mobile number, they're calling back to your work phone number. This obviously means that your employee reachability is so much better. So if they're on holiday, for example, and you need to send those calls to a colleague, that's nice and easily done through the phone system. It could be that when they ring out, they want to present their team or department phone number or their main work phone number. That can be done nice and easily. So when those calls come back, rather than directly back to the end user, they're coming back to your main sort of work contact number. Those calls can be routed accordingly. They're within the phone system. They can obviously be recorded and etc. as well. And then from a management perspective, you've obviously got your analytics, so real-time analytics as well. So the minute I make a phone call from my anywhere mobile device, because it's routing via our platform and that phone call is obviously getting logged within real time, if you've got a wall board up where you're monitoring people's actual activity, whether they're on a call or not, at real time, as soon as I make that phone call, that will appear as a phone call within my reporting software. So from a management perspective, if you've got a lot of remote workers and you're keen to see what they're doing through the day and how many phone calls they're making, or just what their activity is in real time, then that's all possible. Still can use their mobile phone, so they get the flexibility of the mobile coverage, but we got the analytics with the reporting and obviously the call capture. So recording, we can record those calls. That's obviously going to increase productivity and save time from a management point of view, because they can deal with issues quickly. They can actually see what's going on within their staff, rather than these calls going out outside of their network, outside of their control, have no idea on how many calls these people are making or who to.